So then, in the last video, I showed you how to use this real-time listener on Snapshot to listen to changes in the database collection. Now, what if at some point we wanted to stop listening to those changes? Then what we could do is unsubscribe from those changes. So say, for example, I go to the index page and down here, I just want to add out a button. I'm going to do it at the bottom of the container. So just a button tag that says unsubscribe from changes. Now, if I click this at any point over here, I want to stop listening to the database for any real-time changes so that if I delete something or add something, it's no longer going to update in real time. So to do that, what we do is come to where we've set up the real-time listener over here. And we say const, and then you can name this what you want. I'm going to call it unsub is equal to this thing right here. So what this does, when we set up a snapshot listener, it actually returns a function. And now we're storing that function in this constant called unsub. Now, if ever we were to later on invoke that function unsub, what it does is cancel this real-time listener. It unsubscribes from changes. So let's do that whenever we click on that button over here. So first of all, we need a reference to that. I'm going to say const button is equal to document.query selector, and we want to pass in the button and save that. So now we have a reference to this. Now we need to attach an event listener. So we'll do that right at the bottom. I'm just going to do a little comment to say unsub from database changes. And now I'm going to say button.add event listener, and we want to listen for a click event. Then we find a callback function when this happens. Now inside this callback function, all we want to do is take this function that was returned to us and invoke it. So let's do that. We'll say unsub and then invoke that function. I'm also going to log something to the console just to say we've done this. Console.log unsubscribed from collection changes. Okay, so now if we save this, what I'm going to do first of all is just add a couple of things, test2, and then I'm going to delete a couple of things as well. So now if we unsubscribe from changes, now we're unsubscribed, and if I try to add something now, I'm going to say tofu pie, press enter. Now we don't see those real-time updates. If I delete something, we don't see those real-time updates. These things are still happening. We're still adding and deleting the recipes from the database. It's just that now we're no longer listening to those events, and so we're not updating our UI when they happen. If I was to refresh, we would see these different things. So for example, if I now say something like test and add, then unsubscribe from changes, then press delete, we don't see the update here, but if I refresh, then we can see it has actually been deleted. So that's how we unsubscribe from changes. We store the function that is returned to us from this real-time listener inside a constant or a variable of some description. Then we invoke that later on when we want to unsubscribe, and this will come in handy later on. So there is much more to Firestore databases than what I've shown you in this chapter, but to explain everything would take a whole course in itself. But hopefully now this gives you a good introduction and a foundation to build upon. And we will be using everything we've learned in this chapter in the next chapter to build a live chat application.